Hello, my friend. This video was inspired by an acquaintance of mine. His name is Perry Romanowski, and he is a cosmetic chemist. He runs the Beauty Brains podcast as well as the Chemist Corner blog, and he released a blog post today that was addressing why cruelty-free cosmetics isn't free from cruelty, and a lot of people are misled by that cruelty-free name. I know a lot of times when I talk about ingredients and I talk about how a brand is cruelty-free, and then I mention that there is an animal product in, or an actual animal in the case of Carmine, in the ingredients, people are shocked. How can you call it cruelty-free if there's an actual bug in the product? We're gonna go over all of that today and what cruelty-free actually is, what it isn't, and why cruelty-free cosmetics really aren't free from cruelty. So if that sounds interesting to you, hang tight. We're getting into it right now. So first and foremost, what I talked about in the intro, which is the one that people are most familiar with, is that cruelty-free cosmetics are not vegan. Vegan meaning that they do not contain animal products. In order to be considered cruelty-free, all you have to do is say that you don't test on animals. It has absolutely nothing to do with the actual ingredients that are in the product. We'll go a little bit more into what cruelty-free actually means in just a minute, but let's talk about the vegan thing. So in the case of Carmine, what they do is they take these red bugs and they crush them so it makes a red pigment. That's why lately, over the past few years, we've seen a lot more eyeshadow palettes specifically with these red dyes in them that are not FDA approved for eye use, and the companies are calling them pigments, pressed pigments. I have a whole video where I was talking about how Morphe, I guess, had told James Charles that the reason why they were called pressed pigments was because there was more pigment in them. That is not true. It's just not true. You don't want more pigment in your eyeshadows because you can only have a certain amount of pigment in the eyeshadows, or else they're definitely not going to be eye safe. You have to have other mixing ingredients in there in order to not irritate your eyes. So it doesn't mean that there's just more pigment in them. It means that they use these red dyes that are vegan dyes in order to avoid having carmine in the shadows so that they can call it a vegan product. Every time I talk about carmine, I have people telling me that bugs are not animals. According to National Geographic, they are. I will link the article down below that I always reference for people, but I know people are going to say bugs aren't animals. They're technically animals. Bugs are a type of animal. They are an insect. Insects are types of animals. Just wanted to put that out there. Cruelty-free products can also contain things like beeswax, which some people say harm the environment in that it can hurt bees. Lanolin, which is from sheep's wool. Some people say that the sheep aren't always humanely treated when they are sheared to get that lanolin from the skin and the wool from the sheep. So in that way, these cruelty-free cosmetics may cause harm. The second one was an interesting one that I hadn't really given much thought to before Perry brought it up, so I'm going to go ahead and quote him. He said, "One study by Fisher and Lamy published in the Journal of Agricultural and Environmental Ethics estimates about 7.3 billion wild animals are killed every year, and this doesn't even include the insects that are both accidentally and purposefully killed." Of course, this is a controversial number because no one has actually gone out and counted the wild animal deaths. Critics will claim that most of the animals escape, but certainly everyone would agree that some animals are killed during this process of harvesting and growing crops. So that's something I hadn't thought of, and I was talking to my husband about it, and he was saying, yeah, same thing with, the vegan lifestyle. And this is definitely not to knock veganism or people that go cruelty-free at all. I want to make sure I'm very clear about that. But in the harvesting of some of these vegetables and some of these plants, there could be animals harmed, especially, with how much pesticide that's used. There are animals, I'm not even going to go into the graphic gory details, but animals can be killed in the process. So in that way, cruelty-free cosmetics may not be free from cruelty. The next one has to do with humans, and we all know that a lot of cosmetics come from China, at least the ones that are imported here to the United States. And I did do a little bit of reading about the poor working conditions in factories in China. According to an article by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it was in 2017, but I would imagine it would be similar today, but I don't know that for a fact. If you have a resource that's a little more updated, let me know. I would love to read it. The average factory worker in China China earns a tenth of what an American factory worker earns, which ends up being about $1.36 per hour. They also tend to work longer hours. Their shifts are typically 12-hour shifts. Now, it definitely needs to be mentioned that the cost of living in China is significantly less than the US. They say that it's about half, but of course that's an estimate. And then there was one other statistic that they mentioned, was that Chinese factory workers are 4 times more likely to die on the job than US factory workers. I don't know the reason why, but that was the statistic given. And I'm sure it's not just in China. I'm sure that there are many other countries where they have poor labor conditions. So that is another way that cruelty-free cosmetics may not be free from cruelty. The last way that I wanted to mention is kind of a bunch of things lumped together. It's the ingredients themselves. Some of these ingredients may harm animals in the long run, may harm humans in the long run, or even the short run when it comes down to it. So what I wrote down was the mica mines in India. There are some video resources I'll link down below. I think it was Revelist. I can't remember exactly, but there was a really interesting video that they put out about a year or two ago about the mica mines, and they actually went in and interviewed people who work in the mica mines, and it's absolutely awful, the child labor that happens there. There's also issues with palm oil and deforestation, microplastics, and it's not just the little beads. It's not just that. It's the accumulation of plastics in the environment that go down the sink when you wash your makeup off. So like, for example, I used to mention all the time cyclopentasiloxane, which is something that's used often in cosmetics, is seen as bioaccumulative. So it could build up in the environment and it could cause problems down the road. Or it may be causing problems now. I don't know the statistics on that. Then we go into just the excessive amount of plastic packaging. Of course, that's a problem all over the consumer market from everywhere. And then with glitter. Now, we do have something called biodegradable glitter. And yes, it may biodegrade over time. It may biodegrade faster. I don't know the science behind it. But what has been found, and it's the article that I'll link down below, is that biodegradable glitter and regular glitter have the same current effect. At least they believe it has the same current effect on the environment. And it doesn't really matter which one you use because it does take a long time to biodegrade. It's not an instant kind of thing. But one thing that's really important to note about this is that there is no legal definition of what cruelty-free means. It really has just been defined by the public. Cruelty-free means not tested on animals. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that no animal has been harmed in the process of making this product. Not tested on animals, ingredients aren't tested on animals, and they're not sold in a country that subjects their cosmetics to pre-market testing. This part literally only applies to China. China is literally the only country where they have these laws, and they're completely and totally outdated. We'll get to that part in just a second. When cosmetics are sent to China from anywhere outside of China, and they're going to be sold to Chinese consumers, they must be subjected to pre-market testing. They must be tested on animals to make sure that they are safe for Chinese consumers. But if it is made in China and being sold to Chinese consumers, it doesn't have to be tested on animals. Also, if it is made in China and directly exported, it doesn't have to be tested on animals. The last qualifier that some people go by is that they don't buy cosmetics if a parent company does import to China. So for example, Estee Lauder owns Too Faced. Because Estee Lauder owns Too Faced, some people will not buy Too Faced products because of the parent company. Too Faced does not test on animals. They don't sell in China. They are, by a lot of people's standards, considered cruelty-free, but their parent company, it all trickles up. But then we get into the problem where Sephora is owned by LVMH. They import to China. So really, if you buy anything from Sephora, you're supporting LVMH, which is a non-cruelty-free company. So even if you buy a cruelty-free brand from Sephora that doesn't have a cruelty-free parent company, you're still supporting LVMH, which does sell in China. So it gets really messy, and it gets this big, huge chain, and it can make your brain feel like it's just gonna go. But this is where there may be some good news coming as far as animal testing goes. And this actually came out back in July. We talked about it in What's Up in Makeup back then, but I want to make sure I bring it up again now because it's even more relevant now. So according to the Humane Society International, effective January 1st of 2021, imported ordinary cosmetics such as shampoo, blusher, mascara, and perfume may no longer have to be animal tested for eye and skin irritation in Chinese laboratories. But they don't have an update, and I couldn't find an update anywhere that this actually happened, that these regulations actually changed. They may have, they might not have. I'm hoping we'll hear something soon. Definitely make sure you subscribe, watch What's Up in Makeup. I will definitely let you know if I hear that this has actually happened. Because if it has happened, cruelty-free won't even be a thing anymore because nobody else really does animal testing on cosmetics. In the US, you don't have to test anything, let alone animal testing. You don't have to do any testing to put it on the market. So, I don't know of any, there's no, in cosmetics, it just won't exist anymore. Everything will technically be cruelty-free. The only exception would be something called post-market testing. And that would be if, let's say, there were customer complaints about a product, then a government like the US, like China, could test the products on animals in order to see whether it is actually harmful. But it's not really a smart move because number one, it's really expensive. Number two, the results kind of suck compared to other alternatives that we have. I'll put the article link down below where I got this information, but some alternatives are cell cultures, donated human tissues from surgeries and other methods of donation, computer models, and volunteer studies. Those are some ways to not use animal testing, and they're actually better. And the reason why they're better is because they're on human cells. When you're talking about a hamster or a rat or a bunny, they react differently because they're not the same species. So you don't need to, it's not as accurate as when you get the human tissues involved. So this is my personal opinion. My opinion is I believe animal testing should be abolished. For cosmetics, we have so many ways to test products, like I mentioned just a minute ago, that are better than animal testing. Animal testing, there's no reason for it. Hello, Editing Jen here. I did fact check this video with Perry, and he did mention 2 tests that do need to be done on animals in order to get accurate results, which made me super sad, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned them because I do want this video to be as accurate as humanly possible. The first one is an inhalation test. It doesn't work using human lung tissue cultures, unfortunately. And the other one is teratogenic effects, which is the substances that cause birth defects, also needs to be done on animals. But the good news is that we already know a lot about the ingredients that we're using in cosmetics and don't necessarily need to do these tests for every product. We're gonna get into that now. So back to the video. As far as medicine goes, I don't know anything about that, so I can't speak on it. But I hope that in the future there will be ways to get our medications without testing on animals. I think that that should be a major goal. But going back to cosmetics, there really isn't a point in any of the animal testing for one more reason, and that's because cosmetic chemists know how a lot of these ingredients work. It's pretty rare when we get ingredients that we just have never seen before. That's why there's been such a boom in CBD products, because chemists and people that are, in makeup are so excited about this because there is a link to marijuana, which is popular with some people. People have been using CBD for a long time illegally, and when it became legal, people were freaking out over, oh my gosh, we can use this in our products and they may do good things. So in that case, testing is important. But for 99% of cosmetics, in my estimation, between 95 and 99%, the ingredients have been used over and over and over and over and over again. Cosmetic chemists know there are rules and regulations that say how much of an ingredient needs to be in order to make it safe. Now, there are some questions about different ingredients and whether they should be in a certain concentration, whether they cause skin sensitivity. Of course, that should be tested more, but not on animals. So what do we need to do as consumers? I think the number one thing we can do is push our legislators to make this a topic that is important. Go out, make laws to protect us, not just from cosmetics that may be harmful to us, but deceptive marketing in general, requiring whatever is on the box of a product that the product actually has to do those things, requiring more scientific tests to protect the consumers like they do in other countries. To wrap this up, one thing that Perry had said in his article that I really resonated with me was how some brands shame other brands for not being cruelty-free, how they raise themselves on this pedestal for being cruelty-free, but yet they may use palm oil products, they may use mica, they may not be vegan, there's all these other things. So even a cruelty-free company can still be hurting animals and or people. So I think that superiority really needs to be brought down a notch, in my opinion. And I think that goes for consumers as well. And I think that we all just need to be conscious of what we're doing, conscious of how our choices are affecting everybody around us. And as long as we are conscious of that and we are making the choices that are right for us, that's what I think that people should do. So at this point, my friend, it is your turn in the collective brain of Makeup Awesomeness, where we help each other not to buy crap and learn more about what we're buying. So I'd love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. What are your thoughts on the things we talked about today? Let me know, because I know there's gonna be varied opinions down there. So please be kind. Discussion is fabulous. So definitely discuss, but let's try to keep it a discussion because I know people could get quite heated. So we're all friends here. Let's just, keep it nice. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and you learned something. If you did and you'd like to see more of my content, YouTube should be recommending videos over here, right over there for you to watch. But if it is your time to go, it is no problem at all. Thank you so much for hanging out as long as you did. Mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very soon.